Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right, so this is the shloka that we were doing. So who is not going to recite today? You can raise your hand. Oh, Sam has already raised her hand. Okay. So today I'm asking who is not going to recite. That's fine. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadhishthanamuchyate eter vimohayatyesha jnanamavritya dehinam. We'll pick up a few hands and then we'll get started.
Radhe Radhe, Sam, please go ahead.
Today we'll freeze. We'll proceed.
Indriyani mano buddhir asyadhishthanamuchyate etai vimohayat kesha jnanamavritya dehinam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Payal ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Payal.
Radhe Radhe. Indriyani mano buddhir syadhishthanamuchyate eter vimohayatyesha jnanam avritya dehinam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadhishthanamuchyate etair vimohayatyesha jnanam avritya dehinam.
Nice. Thank you, Panaji. Radhe Radhe Rameshi. Good to see you after long. Hear you rather.
Ramesh ji, are you there?
Please go ahead.
Mano buddhihi asyadhishthanamuchyate etair vimohayatyeshaha jnanamavritya.
Very nice, Rameshi. Your voice was breaking a little bit, but we got most part of it. Okay, so let's get started. Thank you, everyone. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying senses, mind, and intellect are said to be the breeding grounds of desire. We spoke about this topic in great length. We'll do a quick recap and then continue. Through them, it clouds one's knowledge and dilutes the embodied soul. So let's get started. This is what we're going to talk about. What is the biggest impediment to the higher goals in life is what we're going to talk about. So yesterday we spoke about the fortress of the enemy, and in this case, it needs to be spotted before one can lay siege on it. So we need to be aware of that. And also we spoke about the chain is as strong as its weakest link. You may have, like in this case, a big fort or maybe a Great Wall of China. But if you have a weak link somewhere, a chink that can be exploited. So, like the chemical reaction is as fast as its slowest step. Similarly, anything is as strong as its weakest link. And in our case, we spoke about not only our mind, senses, and our intellect are the breeding grounds of desire. Our weak link could be any sense. Any sense could derail us or make us fall. And we know how it can take siege without we realizing it. And before we realize it, we are already neck deep into the object of our desire. So let's continue on this discussion. Also, we spoke about that these three things that we are talking about, they're not bad in themselves. They were given to us for the purpose of achieving God realization. See, what happens is, how do you perceive Anand? When we talk about God is bliss, for you to perceive bliss, you need chit. So God has given us that ability. When we start acquiring higher and higher taste, start moving towards divine bliss, we need a chit to experience that. If we are on the path of moksha, then we will do chitta nivritti. mind itself is finished. That is a different thing. Okay, then you become one with God. You merge in his effulgence or the light. However, on the path of devotion, chit is an important thing. God has given us chit. Okay, so in devotion, we don't finish off the chit. We use that chit and we upgrade that chit actually. And with that upgraded chit, you can actually perceive and digest and partake that divine bliss. And you get an upgrade for your senses as well. And same thing goes for our intellect as well, right? God says when you become realized, I become your mind and buddhi. That means we get an upgrade. It becomes divine, unlike the material one. So mind, senses, and which are the breeding ground for desire, are not bad in themselves. They are given to us so that we can upgrade them, utilize it properly, and achieve the potential that it has to not only experience the highest level of bliss and be able to partake that as well. So basically, they are not bad in themselves. Once we start controlling the mind and not be mastered by it and start dovetailing our senses, they could become our assets as opposed to a little bit of our enemies at this point, derailing it by giving us sense objects which are not really good for us. Now, these instruments, like I said, they are not bad in themselves. These are actually given to us to, realize higher goals. However, we have permitted lust in its many forms to lay siege on them. When we say we have permitted, we have actually made a choice. We keep on making a choice. We are in a conditioned state, and every moment we are making a choice. Nobody can forcefully shove down our throat anything without our own permission. And today we are writing our tomorrow, and similarly, yesterday we have written our today. So it's only because of that, our conditioned state, do we keep on falling for the things which our senses go for. Our own pravrittis are driving it. And our own pravrittis are the indelible marks that are formed in our subconscious because of our past choices. And those past choices were made based on the knowledge that was activated in our mind. And that knowledge that got activated was based on what we valued in life. So now that we understand, it's time for us to start correcting our value system about what actually gives us bliss, because that is going to dictate our day-to-day choices. Somebody thinks money is important. They can burn off a bride for dowry. Somebody thinks alcohol is important. They can sell off everything, even put their family at stake. That value system on what gives us happiness dictates the choices and the thoughts that we harbor in our mind. And that becomes our sanskars. And when they becomes our sanskars, those pravrittis, they keep on haunting us lifetime after lifetime whenever we get a human body. So these instruments there's no problem in that instrument. It's the conditioning that we have done and the permission we have given to the lust, falling to the lust time and again, is what is making basically cause of our undoing. Okay, lifetime after lifetime. Now let's move on. Okay, let's start a little philosophical discussion now. So if you were to watch a soccer game without a goal post, would it be interesting to see that? People are playing soccer without any goal posts. How long you'll enjoy that? I mean, there'll not be any World Cup and stuff like that, right? So we will not enjoy a game. Anybody who thinks they'll enjoy a game of soccer without a goal post on each side, it'll take the fun away from it completely, right? Soccer is the most popular game in this world, not for a reason. And most of the countries, they play that, and they have not introduced professional soccer in Olympics, because if they would do that, it would even overshadow Olympics. So they have put it as, okay, only under certain age will play, so that it doesn't hijack the event. But anyway, the key point is you need a goal post. It brings a purpose to the game. And if you see that, you'll lose interest. Players will lose interest, right? There's nothing to basically strive for at that point. So let's use this to continue in our discussion. Anyways, it's more of a joke now. So there were people who were watching a soccer game in the stadium, okay? And there were two people who were saying, why everybody is screaming on the top of their lungs, saying goal, goal, goal. Have you seen a match somewhere? People scream goal, 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 right? So say they, why are they screaming goal, goal, goal? And the ball is already goal, right? So how much goal they can make? By the way, for those of you who don't understand Hindi, it means around like, oh. So these people are like, okay, why are they screaming on top of their lungs? But the point here is, that was just a joke, okay? So nothing serious about it. Let's move on. So if we were to ask this question, see, setting worthy goals is the key to success in life. This is the key thing, because we're talking about the topic of goal, and something continues to be an impediment for us to realize highest goals. We all have good intentions, and we all set lofty, given a choice, we would like to achieve lofty goals and attain that thrill by hitting those goals. If merely intentions were good enough, all of us would hit those lofty goals. But there is something that prevents us from hitting that. And that is something, let's have a little bit of a discussion on that. What is it that prevents us from hitting the worthy goals and achieve that success that we all consciously or subconsciously strive for? Okay, there is something that stops us from doing that. So let's talk about that now. So biggest impediment to the higher goals, anybody who knows that? I think some of you might already be knowing that. Yes, Nilesh.
नीलेश जी, राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. Well, one of my question was, it's not an answer to this one, but can our goals be material in nature? And Nitinji, if you can address that. Let's say I want a higher position in my office or better living rather than, so that's where my question is, but I was not planning to answer this.
No, that's a good question. Sure. I mean, goals. See, when we talk about worthy goals, we have to think deeply about this topic, right? So if I'd say, if you strive for becoming the best version of yourself, won't becoming successful at your office and other things automatically be taken care of? Right?
Yes, so that's my question, right? That should be a realistic goal as well.
True. That is
Because
there.
I cannot imagine God realization at this point, but I can say I want to become best version at my office, at my work, buy a better home, buy a
Oh,
better.
sure. So you can set goals for yourself. Very true. End of the day, you have to really ask yourself, what are you going to get out of it? And then basically apply the real knowledge around it, right? The scriptural knowledge, what guidance they are giving us. Right? If you think your yardstick for success is to becoming a C-level executive, right? That is your goal, then
Yeah.
your actions would be aligned around that, right? And then your actions will be aligned around that, unless you have understood the science of work, then they may not be spiritually elevating you, because now you are saying, okay, that's everything that I do is a means to an end, because that's my goal. So regardless of what we set our goal,
Mhm.
as long as the foundation is clear around how I want to go about it, I think you should be fine, because eventually it will lead you, one thing will lead to another and other will lead to another, because you will understand even after reaching the epitome of what you thought would give you happiness, you are still there. But in the process, time is of essential. Time is a very limited commodity we have, right? If we have spent 30 years of our lives chasing a goal, which finally was like, okay, what did I achieve at the end of it, right? And in the process, forfeited the opportunity to upgrade myself spiritually, then it's an opportunity lost. So that big purpose, as long as it is clear, micro level or intermediate goals, you can set anything. But the science of work, if you're not applying, and if you're spiritually derailing yourself, then it is not a worthy goal at that point. So you can set any goal. It could be worthy for you in your context, as long as the way you approach that is all sorted out. It is spiritually taking you to the next level, not derailing you from that. Like, my goal could be becoming rich at any cost. Is it a worthy goal? No, it's not. At any cost itself would mean that I'm willing to do 400 BC or whatever it takes, buttering up people, and even at the expense of others. Am I willing to do that? If I achieve that goal, was it worth it? Materially, people may say yes, but spiritually, God will say you have actually gone backwards in your life, in this life.
So
So
what
yes,
is the
you can say that you will, yeah.
intent of acquiring that goal, right? So I should not be attached to the outcome, but give the best effort.
Mhm.
Even if I get it, I should say I got it because of his power. If I don't get it, that was the God's will.
True. And regardless, when you continue to invest on yourself, you will taste success in all walks of life. It just happens automatically. Right? And then what is your intent of like the why part of it behind it? So that should be important. Now, one way of it, I asked this question to Swamiji, after getting to spirituality, am I becoming complacent? Am I becoming lazy at my work and stuff like that? And he answered it, or should I be striving for a corporate success as well, that I should get a designation as of a certain age and then this designation and that. So he answered he said that one way of it is that, okay, I can earn more so that I can give more. Okay, or become at a position where I can do more seva. But then he said it's a very devious path. It will take away a lot of your mind space and you'll have to do a lot of things. So the sooner we find that sweet spot in our life and career, the better it is. And ironically, after getting to this path, I'm telling you, the things are thrown my way, which I don't even desire. And you are just pushed automatically. And I'm realizing why it is happening, because I'm at peace. I'm just not attached to that. But that doesn't mean I'm not doing my best. It's just happening all by itself. So when we start aligning to spiritual principles, it reflects in your work as well automatically. And but like you said, and then the science of where Krishna says, don't be attached to the outcome. You do your best, and your odds of doing your best is when you keep on becoming your best. And your odds of becoming your best would increase when you start aligning to spiritual principles. So buck stops at spirituality, no matter which way you look at it.
Okay, got it. Thank
All
you.
right, long-winded answer to your short question, but we'll continue on that. So now, which is the biggest impediment to the higher goal? Anybody else who wanted to
No,
take?
we have few chats in the comment box. Ganpriya ji is saying lower goals, comfort zone. Sai Ram ji says lower mindset is primary impediment.
Very true. We put a cap on ourselves. A couple of hands here as well. You wanted to add something?
And Swati ji says laziness.
Procrastination, laziness, for sure. Yes, all of you are right. I'll just add some more color to it.
Sam ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe. How about the lust, desire, the karma, all these for the lower nature and the attachment to the worldly things, materialistic things.
Mhm.
So those are the biggest impediments. In case instead of materialistic things, we can move to the spiritual, all those things, the lust for the spiritual things can go a different way. That's my short answer. Radhe,
Sure.
Radhe.
I think all of you are right. I'll just articulate it and put it in one line. Yes, Sanjay, you wanted to add something?
Yeah. Sanjay ji, Radhe Radhe.
I would say ignorance. Like out of ignorance, we don't even know what should be our right goal.
Mhm.
So getting the right knowledge becomes important from that perspective.
Right, that is true. There was a story, beautiful story, when Swami Vivekanand, he was traveling to US, a student was traveling along with him. So he was traveling, so he said, okay, let me have a coaching movement for him. So gurus and saints are always for the welfare of others. So he said, okay, why are you going to? He said, so that I can do my undergraduate. He said, what you will do after your undergraduate? He said, after undergraduate, I will do ICS exam, like IS, those British time, they used to have ICS exam. He said, what are you going to do with that? Then he said that I will find a good match. He said, okay, what are you going to do with that? After that, he said, then of course I'll marry and do some social and economic development. And then said, what are you going to do after that? He said, then I'll raise kids. And then what are you going to do after that? And then he said, I'll raise them, marry them off, and then I said, what after that? He said, then I will retire and then move. I'll just retire. And then he said, what after that? And then he said, I'll die. What else? So is that your life plan of your life, basically? Earn, basically raise family, and then move on one day, hoping you'll retire with some kind of a money in your bank balance. So that part has to be really clear about it. These activities, if you fundamentally break down, ahar, bhay, nidya, maithun, these animals also do. And there's no difference. When humans have been endowed with intellect, actually, the first thing in Brahma Sutra, Vedvyas ji says is, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now inquire, who are you and why are you here? As humans, this should be your first and foremost question. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. It's incumbent upon us to ask this question as humans. Because social, economic development, raising kids, having a good bank balance, the security net over our head, we are just doing what animals do in a more deluxe and sophisticated manner, nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. Even great Alexander, when he conquered the entire world, he said, when you put me in a coffin, put my hands out of my coffin, so that the entire world could see. Even the great Alexander did not depart with anything. Everything remained here. And our scriptures tell us the only wealth you take from lifetime to lifetime is spiritual wealth. Everything else remains here. So it may be good for our ego to do social economic development. But if we look at it from a spiritual standpoint, the victories that we have done from within by trying to conquer our inner self, those are the ones God cherishes, and those are the ones our true wealth we carry from lifetime to lifetime. So let's talk about what is the biggest impediment. All of you are right. I'll just put it in one line, which beautifully Swamiji says. It is an easier path to a lower goal. Okay, that prevents us from going for the higher goal. We all have good aspirations. Given a choice, we would like to do a lot of stuff, but we settle down for something less because it's just easy. And why does that happen? Let's talk about that. I'll give you a yin yang for both and see why we find it difficult. Okay, it's a pretty interesting concept and something we should really think about. Why does it happen? Okay, because it's an easier path. And why is it easy? Let's talk about it. So here are two sides of a seesaw. On one hand, you have a choice to enjoy a dopamine kick, anger. On other hand, you can exercise restraint or tolerate, right? Your two choices are there. Yesterday we were talking about we are soul. Now think about it, what is good for the soul and what is at the bodily level. Okay, you'll get an answer, but we know which emotion we fall for more often than not. On one side, you have an animalistic gratification, craving for that dopamine kick. On other hand, we have a discerning intellect that, you know what, I need to resist this temptation because it's not good for me based on the knowledge that I have. On one hand, you have biased or you form judgment about people. On other hand, you are objective and just stay neutral about certain things because we may not know the entire context. On one hand, you have jealousy, greed. On other hand, you have contentment. Right? They say, our scriptures say, Swadare, Bhojane, Dhane. Just be content when it comes to Swadare means your spouse, your money, and your food. But then enviness, jealousy, all that stuff starts coming in. On one hand, you have pessimism, skepticism about things that you see around. Other hand, you have choice to be optimistic and hopeful. On one hand, you have choice, hatred, resentment, bitterness. On the other hand, you have love, empathy, and compassion. And I've put in a few things: self-praise, laziness. Self-praise, anybody who doesn't like self-praise here? Laziness. Then other side, you have being disciplined or giving praise to others, focus more on that. Vices such as drinking, smoking, excessive eating, exerting willpower to make good habits. So if you look at it, I mean, I've just put in a few things. It's not all inclusive. So this is how it goes basically. This on the right hand side is our lower nature. And on the left hand side is our higher nature. We have both these in ours. It's like a good dog and a bad dog. Whichever one we feed more keep on becoming more and more powerful. So spirituality is all about conquering our lower nature. So the question is, why do we keep falling to our lower nature? What is it? What is the incentive we have in lower nature where we find it so difficult to conquer? Okay, let's not even talk about such big, what you call that, attractions or incentives that our senses offer us. Forget about that. Just about some simple stuff. We are talking about these emotions, right? We know these are not good. But what is it that is so difficult for us to conquer our lower nature and not go for the higher nature, harness our higher nature? And from God's standpoint, even if we have made this much of a change or a progress in conquering our lower nature or subduing our lower nature, it is a huge victory. God relishes and celebrates it. So when we make inner growth our priority, there cannot be anything bigger than that. Any opportunity in our life, every opportunity in our life actually presents us with an option to either succumb to our lower nature or use it as an opportunity to conquer it or get better at it. So why is it that it is so difficult to, conquer or keep working on our lower nature? Let's have a little bit of discussion on this. It's a very important topic. And this is the one which prevents us from reaching our highest goals or the aspirational goals that have our lower nature. And all of us have that. And it is a tussle between lower nature and the higher nature, not tussle, rather, we de facto fall for our lower nature. Unless we come across somebody like Swamiji or Maharajji and they give us a knowledge, and then we consciously try to tackle it through witness consciousness. You know what? My lower nature is now starting to take control over me. I need to do something about it. But more often than not, we keep on falling for it. Anybody who wants to share anything on this? It's an important.
We had few more chats in the comment window.
Sure.
Comment in the chat window. Sorry. Aparna ji said easier path to lower goals. Monica said similar. Doesn't feel like dealing with material things, relations, etc. Lakshmi ji said lack of understanding of oneself. Ashutosh ji said to set lower goals. And Preeti ji said, however, I do not want to ask God for materialistic achievements. Sometimes I end up asking for them. How to handle this one? This is a question from Preeti ji.
Yeah, because the materialistic thing, because our intellect is not yet convinced that happiness is not in materialistic things. That is the reason for that. It is still things, you know what? I do get relish from material things. Who has seen God? Who knows where Golok is and whether it exists or not? Right? And if I get there or not, but at least material, something tangible, visible thing is there, and the whole world is saying that. I have so many testimonials around me where world says it's so cool to be in such positions. So our intellect is not yet convinced. That is why we keep on adding. Secondly, we have to really understand it from a knowledge standpoint. God is a perfectionist, right? The law of karma is perfect. So can we bribe our way out of it by asking or doing something? By the way, we don't even bribe God properly. See, in real world, if I have to bribe somebody, how will we bribe somebody? When it's called speed money, okay? It's a euphemistic term for bribing these days. So if I have to bribe somebody, I will go give the money and then they will get the work done. That is how you typically bribe. When we go to God, we do the other way around. We said, you first get the job done, then I'll give you laddus. Okay? This whole mannat concept is that only, right? So we didn't even bribe it properly. But do we think we can actually talk God into it by offering laddus, that to a future dated bribe, and override the law of karma, which anyway, if you're supposed to get, we'll get it. And if you're not supposed to get, we'll not get it. And he's seated within. Do we even need to go to him to ask for something? If there is something for us, he's our well-wisher, so he knows what is good for us, right? It is said that if God were to fulfill all of our wishes, that would be the worst thing to happen to us. We are anyway on a suicidal mission with regards to the desires and the kind of trinkets we are going for, where he has a whole storehouse of treasures that he's willing to share with us. So if we put this knowledge to our intellect, then we will say, okay, there's no point in asking for material things from God, right? If we were to ask something, it has to be something much bigger. And when Prahlad was asked by God, tell me, I'm very pleased with you, with your devotion. What should I give you? He was apt. He didn't know what to ask God. He said, maybe he gave him a little bit of cold water to get his senses back. He said, ask me something. And he said, okay, now because I'm your servant, he understood, right? Jiver Swarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. And as your dutiful servant, because you're asking me and I have to ask you, then I'll ask you that I may not ask you anything. And that's what he asked. He got a blank check from God, and this is what he asked. And just think of his emotion, right? So it's good to keep God in debt as opposed to settling the score with him. Okay, God will give you multiple opportunities. Okay, take this, take this, take this. So if we start building those concepts ground up right from beginning, never ask God anything. Bin mange mile moti, mange mile na bheek. That is the principle in God's realm. Then that is a good sentiment to build. But by asking, few things will get fulfilled, few will not. And because of our karmas and prarabdha, and then we'll think, okay, when it got fulfilled, you'll say, okay, next time I'll give more laddu, and God will again do that. And eventually you'll become an astik, because sometime it will happen, sometime not. Your shraddha will also keep on fluctuating based on what is happening. But it's not a good idea usually to ask God anything other than, if something has to be asked, it has to be his devotion. Give me more bhakti, and that longing pain to see you in front of me. These are the good things to ask. Other than that, we should not ask for material things as such. Okay. Long answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mike, can I share my thought on this? Can I share my thoughts if you say allow me?
Yeah.
First things first. Are you from Petas by any chance? Because you always praise animals and you always are against humans. I do not know. For last couple of years, जब भी आप बात करते हैं, you are praising the animals. और हमारी को ऐसे बोल रहे हैं, intellect, mind, we have nothing. But that's okay. That's all how we all are. And still, अपनी इतनी बेइज्जती होने के बाद भी हम लोग we don't get to the point. Still, we are in the same realm, same zone. That's okay. That's how we are. And on my thoughts on God asking, I'll tell you my story. Before 5 years, as you said, Mannat, I used to ask God, please give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. He might have given me, which I am not sure, but I'm sure he has given me. But then when I turned more spiritual, I forgot. "Chhodo yaar, hoga, nahi hoga." I just went on a different road, different path. And trust you me, in last 5 years, my life has changed drastically. I don't even want, but whatever I wanted initially. And now I've forgotten all those things. But it has coming to me in a different way, an easier path. That's how God is. He doesn't want anything from you. He just wants to be with him. Be with him in the best possible manner we can be. And he'll just fulfill your needs, your desires. I mean wrong term, but he knows what we all want, what we all need.
True.
And he's there for us. But the thing is, we don't know that. Now he's with us. We are on a different route altogether. That's how we all are, and that's why you're praising Peta every time you know. And the day we decide to we use intellect towards God, we are done deal, as you always say. My thoughts, it's mine. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Nice. It's in giving away. See, the secret of this universe is it is counterintuitive. We think we can gain more things by holding things, by accumulating things. While the principle of the universe is, when you give away everything, that's when you get everything. Okay, that too to God. When you offer that, but that's to reach that stage is a big thing, right? And see, these are the very simple things, but if you think deeply about it, it takes a lot to get to that stage. And then the second thing, when we talk about surrender, anyway, we'll probably have a separate session on talking about the details of surrender. You'll refresh that for the benefit of new participants. Eventually, we have to do nothing. Surrender is a state of doing nothing. It's like everything you do. But for us to get to a state of doing nothing, we have to do a lot of things to get to that stage. Right? Finally, we don't have to do anything. You let God do everything through you. You become an instrument, mere instrument of him. But to get to that stage, of course, you have to do a lot of things. And then when you don't desire, of course, God will. There's a Hindi saying, right, that तू करता वही है जो तू चाहता है और होता वही है जो मैं चाहता हूँ. तू कर वो जो मैं चाहता हूँ, फिर होगा वही जो तू चाहता है. So point is, we have to align to God's will to get things done, as opposed to making our secret wishes, secret desires, and wanting world via God, and all these things, trying to bribe our way through. I'll give you laddu and these mannats. All these are messed up concepts that need to be corrected in our head, and these are the reasons why we keep on repeating in this world and keep on going further and further away from God, because the knowledge is erroneous and our intellect is still hung up in world, firmly rooted with the belief that there is happiness in this world, and one day I will extract it. And I haven't extracted it. One of my friend has, whom I know. Okay, and it is a mirage and an illusion that we keep on creating lifetime after lifetime. Or relationships will give me happiness. We have no clue, where our relatives will go and which set of new relatives will come. Okay, including our near and dear ones. Those keep on changing, and we think they are our life and this and that. So all that stuff is erroneous knowledge which we have not thought seriously about. or haven't gotten an exposure to perfect knowledge around it. Great. Yes, a couple of other
Yep.
hands.
Yeah, we have few comments. Can I read them, please?
Mhm.
Aparna ji is asking God for giving good mental and physical health, good virtues, and to put my family members on a spiritual path. Is asking for material things.
My family, yes, of course, spiritual things, it's a material thing. So everybody is God's family before they become our family. Don't we trust his intellect on that he has a plan for everybody? And does he need our recommendation to take good care of our family? That knowledge needs to be corrected, and that your family is the one which is going to make you repeat here. They will carry on with their journey. Okay, those souls will carry on with their journey, and a new set of soul will become your family. Then what will you ask there for your family again? So our focus should be our own paramarth. Okay, do the best for your family as a duty. But this whole drama of family and my near and dear ones, that needs to be seen in a perspective. And we don't need many people to make us repeat in this world. Just one person is enough. And we keep on finding that one or two people in every lifetime, thinking they are they are going to remain with us forever. While our true Sambandhi is God only and Guru, if you get one. Nobody is a true Sambandhi because they will move on their journey. They will have no freaking clue where you are, or you will have no clue who they are. A new set of souls will come. They'll become your mummy, papa, beta, wife, all that stuff. And then you'll start this drama again because of your sanskars of forming association with that relation, not with that soul. Soul, anyway, we can't see, right? And this continues lifetime after lifetime. And if we don't find people, we find a pet. Our mind is good at finding some kind of a attachment. You don't find anybody, you'll find a pet. So that is how it goes. And pets also have their karmas, right? Some pets are born in US, they get biscuits, and all people don't even get food. Why are they repeating here? Maybe they didn't done some good karmas to become that kind of a pet here, or maybe the master and the pet are flipping positions because of serving each other. That is also a possibility, right? So the surest way to get born in a particular yoni is to get attracted to it. And a surest way of repeating in a religion is to start, getting attracted either in a positive or a negative way. So that is our mind, which makes us repeat in different species. See, if you are attached to a soul, okay, whoever that soul is, and because of that karmas or based on the last thought that came in that person's mind, that person became a dog or a donkey, then you have to repeat, you have to go after them. That is how it goes. So this is what continues to happen, lifetime after lifetime. Narad was laughing, right? There was a guy who was shooing a goat away from his shop. Okay, so Naradji started laughing. So Sage asked him, why are you laughing? He said, you know what? This goat is nothing but his own father. He had a very strong attachment to his shop. And even after death, now in this yoni, he's attracted to this place only. And now he's wielding a stick at him, whom he used to love in his previous life. So those kind of things happen. It's a mercy that God does not show us what's going on. Otherwise, it will become a complete chaos in this world, looking at different relationships around. Yes.
Then she's asking, Aparna, would that not performing my duty in that case? If I do not
No, duty. No, by praying for others that is your own journey aspect of it. That is your attachment that is in play. Scriptures tell us, put it in perspective. From a duty standpoint, you don't need to be attached. You can in fact perform duty much better when you are not attached. A nurse is not attached. You think she slacks in her duties? No, she doesn't. A surgeon is not attached. Do you think he lacks in his duty? He doesn't. So this is a wrong notion that you need to be attached to somebody to perform your duty. No, that's not the case. In fact, you can perform your duty much better when you are not attached. When you are purely operating from a sense of duty and out of love, you will do a much better job at that particular relationship. Yeah, praying for family is a noble thing. You feel for them, which is a good thing. But if you think really deeply about it, you need to conquer that attachment part of it, which is not good for your spiritual journey, is essentially what I'm trying to say. And we need to trust God. That means we don't have faith on God, right? We haven't understood the knowledge properly. God, we are all God's family. We are all God's kid to begin with. And he doesn't need our recommendation to do certain things, in a particular situation. So we got to trust him on that. Rather than that, we need to ask him for wisdom, like you said, for strength, and to, sail through situations and have wisdom in navigating through those, as opposed to becoming emotionally vulnerable because of our attachment. That is a good thing to ask from God and continue to work on ourselves.
Thank you so much. I thought otherwise. I thought it's a good thing to ask for relatives, but since you are so profound, you give us the right
Ask
answer.
for your own satisfaction, you can continue doing that, but think of it. Are you truly working on your attachments at that point? Are you truly working on becoming nirasharit, that, okay, God, having that faith that ultimately He's our Parampita, He's the Jagatpati? Are you really solidifying that knowledge in your head? You're not. You're still thinking all the material things only, consciousness only, that, you will say that and all that, and your heart is actually split across all those relatives and friends, and okay, their welfare and all. Where will they go? Where will you go? Nobody has any clue. So you do your duty to the best of your ability. Beyond a point, you leave it. Everybody has their own journey, and a spiritual. It's a privilege that we get to come across, different souls, and we should look at it that way. Have that gratitude and do our best for them. But when we start forming that attachment, and it will lead to anxiety and then insecurity and then unnecessary worries, we know it's not good for us, right? It's not good for our spiritual growth as well.
Good. Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you so much. Sandhya, Radhe Radhe. Thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
There was this line that Swamiji had said, "Kuch Shraddha, kuch Dushtata, kuch
Sure.
Sanchay, kuch Gyan." So I guess that also fits into this problem, right? Because we are lacking the faith that we have the infinite potential, we are part of God, and we can realize God in this lifetime itself. We feel that that's an unrealistic goal, and hence we end up falling for prey instead of going for Shray, the long term, the ultimate pleasure or happiness, right?
We like dopamine kick more than serotonin kick, basically. So it's all dopamine kick. The one on the right hand side, it gives you instant, right? Immediate. But when you delay it, then what you get is much higher at that point. I think there is another amine now they are coming up with in Israel. They are doing a research. There's a dopamine, serotonin, and other things, and then anandamine they're talking about. It is anandamine, something like that, okay, based on that word. I'll be interested to know what research comes up with. But those kind of shreyas and prayers that we talk about, they come when you have delayed gratification. You don't sail over it immediately. Anger is also gives us bliss. It's a dopamine kick that we get by venting it out, right? When people try to humiliate somebody, become bitter, vent it out, there's a certain kind of kick they are getting out of it. So when we simply tolerate it and get over that, then I think what we get in returns is much higher, because God gives you, when God rewards you, we can only imagine what transformation it can cause in us and what kind of bliss and joy it can give us in return. So, and Bhagavad Gita is telling us to align to those principles. He tells us don't be do, because when we don't conquer our lower nature, it's not pleasing to God. Their whole life they spend in giving us nuggets of wisdom so that we can conquer our lower nature. You think of all the teachings Maharaj has given us. Swamiji tells us day and tirelessly. He has created a 21-day mind management challenge. He has created a 21-day happiness challenge, purpose of life. If you really think deeply about it, all he's trying to tell us is to conquer our lower nature. And he's given us a Ramban. You conquer your lower nature either by thinking one at a time, okay, I need to conquer this, conquer that, or you simply engage your mind in devotion, and that silver bullet will take care of, before you realize, your lower nature will start subsiding all by itself. You will be on your path to harness your higher nature and much beyond. And that is essentially, if you distill down his teachings, it essentially is telling us this only: conquer your lower nature, start aligning to the higher principle, and start becoming the best version of yourself. And then automatically you'll start becoming better personally, professionally, spiritually, intellectually, in every sense. Okay, we have 9:46. Okay, we have 10 more minutes. We can talk a little bit more before the next session. We have a hard stop at 10. So, by the way, if you are in or around Delhi and you're interested to meet, 22nd we can meet. Okay, 22nd afternoon or
You
evening.
said 20 तारीख भाई पहले. You have changed the dates now.
22nd, right? Yeah, 22nd
You
now.
said 20th initially.
अब 22 हो गया शायद, कुछ बदल गया शायद प्लान में.
जिन भाई आप क्या कर रहे हो?
22 परफेक्ट है.
कोई नहीं, अभी तो बहुत टाइम पड़ा है. Let us again
22nd.
chat.
So we are thinking, if you are just put it in the feedback tracker, we can organize and plan something around it. So just wanted to.
Wow, so nice, Bhai. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited and looking forward to it as well.
Same here. Rahul
Okay.
bhai,
Feedback tracker,
आप
22nd evening, we will plan to meet in somewhere in Delhi, or
Gurgaon, either way.
I'd leave it up to you because I have no clue. Okay, for me it's a foreign country now, so you would know it better.
Oh.
Yes, Rahul.
Rahul bhai, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Rahul.
Just wanted to clarify, I think you already spoke, but lower nature is probably seeking that prey happiness, and then higher nature is that Shrey happiness.
Prey happiness, yeah. Typically it is a prey happiness, which is instant gratification that we go for. See, we don't have to put effort to become lazy. Does anybody say, do you know what? I had to do a lot of hard work to become lazy. No, it comes naturally. And we don't have to do a lot of hard work to become angry. These are natural, spontaneous things that happen. But what takes effort is to resist that urge, to resist that temptation, or resist that judgment, or resist gossiping, resist fault finding, resist falling into a negative trap or pessimism, and resist basically what do you call that, not having any bitterness or self-praise. Everybody loves. Is anybody who says that? I don't know. So those are the things scriptures tell us, that desire where if somebody is criticizing you or praising you, doesn't make much of a difference. If when we have to strive to reach that stage, is essentially what message of Lord Krishna is. But that takes effort, right? Doesn't come naturally. I see so many videos on, so thank you, Komal ji, Swarna ji, Manisha ji, Sandhya ji, and the usual ones are there, and Minu ji is always there. So thank you, Nilesh ji, all of you for turning on your videos today.
Me also is my.
And yeah, thanks to myself, I am turning on my video as well. So thank you for letting me know.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a little bit more time, so
Monica has had her hand raised a while ago. Now she has disappeared. But
who
one
has-
more thing I want to share with you. As I told you, I had also gone to Vrindavan when Diva was there. She broke her hand. Again, we went to Vrindavan last on Good Friday. And again, Krishna disappeared. We could not meet him again. We came back empty-handed. I do not know. उनकी क्या
Because,
मंशा
yeah,
है,
I
क्या
think what
मंशा है।
Krishna is doing is he's working on your virah bhav. So when your virah bhav will fructify, I think you will not have to go to meet him. He'll manifest. Okay, so continue to
I
work.
know. That's what I thought in my. We are so on the same path.
He's
ऐसे कुछ
just
कर रहे थे साथ, वो कह रहे छोड़ भाई, हम साथ साथ मिलेंगे.
possibly. Great. Yes, Monica
Monica,
ji, you wanted
Radhe
to ask?
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, everybody, Radhe Radhe ji. I mean, I had my hand raised, but then I thought, then I lowered it. I thought I'll ask you privately, but then again, this might help others also. The question was, what kind of perspective one can have for an ambitious spouse with respect to like material things, right? Because you're not into material things, but then maybe your parents or your spouse or anybody could be.
See, I'd asked the question to Swamiji because he works tirelessly and goes around, answers questions patiently. And then I said, how do you feel? Because we are so busy in so many other things. Our priorities are quite different in the material world. And he said a very beautiful line, okay, which stuck with me from that day. He said, all of us are perfectly situated where we need to be. So we all learn. Some people learn it by exhausting certain things that they think are going to give them happiness, right? After that, they will do the hard yards, and then finally at the later part of their life, they realize, oh man, where did the time go? If only I could have invested in something else. So some people learn at their own pace. So we can't really talk somebody into it unless they are open to it. And everybody is perfectly situated where they need to be, right? That example of Buddha was there, that Buddha, somebody asked him, what makes you the way you are, right? Are you made up of wood or stone? Because I've been abusing you. So for so long, he was abusing him, by the way. And then when he got tired, Buddha said, give him some food and water so that he can resume again. And then he asked him finally, what makes him the way you are? And Buddha said, 50 lifetimes back, even I was like you. So we are all on a spiritual trajectory. Now, if it is crossing over in a manner, I mean, it is putting some kind of an impediment to you, we need to be smart around it. But if it is not, we should not go overboard. Maybe give them some food for thought. Maybe looking at you, they may get inspired that something is working for them, which makes them more blissful. And despite my material ambitions, it's still not giving me the satisfaction that I thought it would give me. That might inspire them. So our own behavior is the best bet to inspire somebody. And secondly, if they are open for it, you never know, they may take a turn quickly. So we can, based on their appetite, you can keep feeding them or food for thought and stuff like that. But beyond a point, I'll not worry too much about it, because everybody learns at their own pace and you can't really change anybody. Because if by hearing somebody could change, listening to one lecture of Swamiji, we would have transformed our lives. Doesn't work that way, right? We are all learning at our own pace. So we have to just put up and keep on doing acting very nicely. In the material world, we have to navigate it very smartly, doing a lot of good acting with your people around so that they don't become impediment to your spiritual journey. So a devotee is a good actor also in the world. They don't pick up fights unnecessarily. And they're very smart. They just know how to, get around people, relatives, relationships, and stuff like that. A new devotee becomes a little tricky, because then they all of a sudden they start declaring to the world, now my spirituality is the biggest thing and I don't want anybody to come on my way. But as they progress, they learn that this is not the way. You have to be very smart, tactful to operate. Otherwise, people will be like, okay, we are not going to let you do what you're doing, because our self-interest is getting hampered now. So we need to tackle that very smartly with, close ones, especially if they are not aligned on our path.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adibhai. Yeah.
Worries.
Thank you, Monica, for asking such
Yes.
questions.
Sunil ji,
Sunil, Radhe Radhe.
going to give us some good Tattva Gyan. I'm looking forward to that.
Radhe Radhe. Really, you think so?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
I love your anecdotes. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
you can. Yeah.
I mean, I think I had a couple of things to say. So when I don't know the name, but I think one of you had asked about, asking something or not. And one thing that is, asking something, I think like to God or something. And one thing that sort of struck in my mind was, I don't know, I think it may be Maharaj ji, शायद महाराज जी ने ही कहा होगा कुछ लेक्चर वगैरह में, मुझे एग्जैक्ट इश्यू नहीं, लेकिन in his speeches Maharaj ji was very strict. You should only ask for divine love and nothing else. So अगर तुम्हारे प्राण भी जा रहे हो, तो no, if God is there, you should only ask for divine love, not even to save your life.
I know.
So I mean, yeah, it is that strong. So that basically clarifies what to ask, what not to ask. Only thing, person should be asking is the vision of God, divine love of God, nothing else. Whatever happens, nothing else. And I think I think Monica ji ne wo kaha tha, wo pucha tha, I think, regarding spouse and all that. And this is more of a technical answer. It is in Prem Ras Siddhanta by Maharaj ji, but as I have like passed through my time, as I'm going through my ages, I've realized, this technical answer is like the best medicine for that thing. So what he basically says there is, like 3 गुण का खेल है, तो अगर 2 आदमी के बीच में कुछ तालमेल मिलने के लिए, मतलब 2 गुण सिमिलर होना चाहिए. तो रजोगुण मिल जाए तो बात बन जाएगा, सत्वगुण मिल जाए तो बात बन जाएगा, तमोगुण मिल जाए. सो दैट इज वन वे. अगर एक का रजोगुण है, एक का सत्वगुण है, नहीं मिलेगा. एक का सत्वगुण है, दूसरे का तमोगुण है, नहीं मिलेगा. एक का सत्वगुण है, दूसरे का रजोगुण है, नहीं मिलेगा. और उसमें भी अगर सत्वगुण भी है, रजोगुण भी है, तो उसका इंटेंसिटी होता है. तो अगर रजोगुण भी है, तो एक का इंटेंसिटी से 5 है और दूसरे का इंटेंसिटी 3 है, तो उसमें भी बात नहीं मिलेगा. So it's so tough. So like whatever it is, like even among devotees, मैं आपको बता दूं, devotees में भी जैसे कोई devotees जैसे भाव भक्ति में पहुंचा है. अब जैसे कहिए कोई डिवोटी साधन भक्ति में, तो दोनों को बात नहीं मिलेगा, क्योंकि जो भाव भक्ति में होगा उसको 10 घंटे डिवोशन चाहिए, जो साधन भक्ति में वो 3 घंटे में थक जाएगा.
And
So it's so complex. It's like, so once we realize this, ये जब ये, so I think सरस्वती जी ने क्लैरिफाई कर दिया 4 गुण होते हैं, सत्व गुण, रजोगुण, तमोगुण. ये संसारी में तो यही होगा, और जो डिवोशन में लगे हैं उसका डिवोशनल गुण भी होता है. लेकिन ये चारों किसमें कब हो जाए पता नहीं, और वो इंटेंसिटी भी वही होना चाहिए. Then it will be a perfect match.
got it.
And so if we take that all the time, we'll never be stressed with however other behaves. And also I think this I read in like Prema Siddhanta a couple of times, but as I went through, I thought initially it is a technical answer, but as I'm passing through, this answer like solves that issue whenever it comes. And also I think, so sometimes what I feel like, the best thing is, and also like once we know this knowledge, but it's still why even though after knowing this knowledge, it hampers us. It has happened to me. I think it happens to us. It's because we are attached to that people. We are attached. We have expectation. We have desires from that person. So because of that, even though we have this knowledge of this, okay, the gunas are going to fluctuate between the two of us. That's why the agreement point will be very few, even in 24 hours, even in a week, even in a month. But because we are attached, we have expectation that it should match, we should be aligned and harmonious. So I think that attachment and expectations, causes us to be frustrated and all that, even though having that knowledge.
Great. I think you summarized it really well. It's a play of gunas, and it is statistically impossible to have same gunas at the same time with the same proportion. So when we simply understand that, we will cut a lot of slack, and two people should never actually be arguing. But in fact of the matter is, because of attachment and other things, we forget that knowledge, and when the knowledge slips, we know where the trouble happens, right? We just have 2 more minutes to go before the next session. Thank you, Sunilji, for a beautiful summing up and providing that technical aspect of it. See, whenever you pick a fight, you can remember this knowledge as Sunilji gave. It's a play of gunas, and two people's guna will never match at the same point in time. It's very unfair of us to expect that. Statistically impossible. Okay. And something which is impossible, why would we expect that, we'll always have a harmonious time. Okay, yes, Sandhya, last one, maybe 1 more minute. Please fill out the feedback tracker in the meantime, and another minute, and then we will hand it over to Sunil ji and Ajay ji.
Sandhya, please go ahead.
Yeah, and no question, just a request. I was so curious if Sunilji could come someday, turn on his video, and we could see him as well. We have just been hearing him, so
Yes,
that was the request.
Please, Sunil Pathak ji, please, we'd love to hear you, see you, because you give very good Tattva Gyan. Okay, so we'd love to see you as well on camera on one of the days, and that is a popular demand from all the participants, on behalf of all the participants from Sandhya. All right, with that, it's 10 o'clock. Over to you, Sunil Bhai and Ajay, if you're around. And Radhe Radhe from my side. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll pick up another interesting topic, and stay blessed and have a great rest of your evening and rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin Bhai. Thank you, Nitin Bhai. Thank you, Sandhya.